Hey, what's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today I have the Mecool Rk3399 Super Development Board. Now, this is a single board computer. It's also known as the VideoStrong Vs Rk3399. This thing is packed with features, tons of I/O on the board. It also has a SIM card slot for use with an M.2 LTE module, so you can get cellular connection while you're on the road. This board is very similar to the Firefly Rk3399. GearBest was kind enough to send this over. Now, it's known as a do-it-yourself Android development box. Does a great job doing 4K video playback and things like that. I have messed with the Rk3399 in the past with one box, and I was kind of disappointed with the performance. So hopefully this is better firmware on here because this chip does have potential. This board is a bit pricey. It's $199 on GearBest. Now, if you're looking for just an Android TV experience, go with the NVIDIA Shield Android TV. They're $199 on Amazon. I'll leave links down below so you can check that one out. But if you're looking for something to mess around with and you need tons of I/O, this is a great option for you. This board does come pre-installed with Android 7.1.2, but there is a Linux distribution. I'll be testing that later this week in a video, but for now, we're going to be testing the built-in Android system that comes pre-installed on this board. Let's go over some basic specs here. For the CPU, we have the Rockchip 3399. It's a 6-core CPU that uses the big little architecture. 4 cores run at 1.5 and 2 cores run at 1.8. The GPU is a Mali T860. It's an MP4 GPU, so it's 4 cores. You can either get 2 GB of RAM or 4 GB of RAM. It is LPDDR3. Storage, they also offer 2 options, 16 or 32 on board. I have the 32 model. It does have Bluetooth 4.1 and Wi-Fi installed on the board. The Wi-Fi is 802.11bg and an AC, so you can pick up that 5 GHz network. It does have HDMI 2.0 because this chip supposedly supports a lot of 4K formats, an SD card slot, an M.2 slot for storage like an SSD, or the LTE module so you can get cellular network on this board. 4 USB 2.0 ports, 1 USB 3.0 port, and a USB Type-C port. It also has a row of 42 GPIO pins, 3 MIPI ports, and 2 DVP camera ports. There's a lot of other I/O on here also, so what I'm going to do is leave a link to GearBest so you can go check this board out. It's the only place I've been able to find a real diagram so you can see exactly what's on this board. The kit does come with an acrylic case with 2 antennas for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. You might see 3 antennas in some pictures, but I believe that's for the LTE signal, and I don't have the module for this board. It also comes with a 12-volt 2-amp power supply. It's a barrel jack, so you need to run 12 volts to this unit to get it up and running. It won't run on 5. What I'm going to do now is go ahead, plug this into my game capture, and check the Android operating system out. I'm going to run some benchmarks and then test some native Android apps. Alright, so the board booted right up. We're running Android 7.1.2. They did throw a little bit of bloatware on here. It's not much at all. I think 3 different apps. They added a few things like root. They also added TV Center, which is actually Kodi, and a 4K video player. It's the Rockchip 4K video player. They do have some video streaming add-ons added into this TV Center, which is Kodi, like I said. They work great. The one problem I have noticed is this is not true 1080p. My television says it's 1080p, my game capture says it's 1080p, but it's not. Let's go into AIDA64 and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's AIDA64, and at the top here we can see the screen resolution is 1024 by 600. I also tested out some native Android games and they look like crap. This is not true 1080p. I'm pretty sure AIDA64 is reporting the correct screen resolution, but they're using some kind of trick to tell my game capture and television that it's 1080p. As you can see, for the GPU, we have the Mali T860 4-core. It does OpenGL ES 3.2. I'm going to go into some benchmarks, and when I ran these benchmarks, it also showed me that it wasn't 1080p. We weren't running these benchmarks at that HD resolution. So for Antutu, we scored an 80,119. 3D scores way up there, but like I said, we're still at 1024 by 600. When running Antutu on screen, it does show you the resolution that you're about to benchmark in, and it was 1024 by 600. So if you've ever run across this before with an Android box or any device really, let me know in the comments below if you have a fix for it, because this is really weird. I've never run into this. My game capture usually tells me exactly what the res is, and I'm really used to using this television that I'm recording from right now, and I can tell you it doesn't look 1080p. Nothing is sharp, all of the text is very blurry. Either way, I did run 3D Mark. For Slingshot Extreme, we scored a 698. For Ice Storm Unlimited, we scored a 14,070. Let's go to best devices here. 698 on our device. As you can see, the NVIDIA Shield is 3,984. That's a huge gap between this box and the NVIDIA Shield Android TV. I mean, we're way down here under all of these phones. Let's move over to Ice Storm Unlimited. For Ice Storm Unlimited, we scored a 14,000 and the NVIDIA Shield comes in at a 45,000. So this box is nowhere near the performance of the Shield. This is marketed as a do-it-yourself Android TV box, but you can run Linux on it. It also has tons of I/O, but for the price, I was expecting it to score a lot better. The final benchmark I ran was Geekbench 4. 1257 for the single core. For multi-core, we scored a 2834. I'm actually impressed that the single core score was 1257. I've tested a lot of Amlogic, All-Winner, Rockchip boxes, and this is by far the best single core score out of those boxes. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to some native Android games. I have Bully, Asphalt Extreme, and GTA San Andreas. Let's see how they perform. First up, we got Asphalt Extreme. Now, I'm not sure if my game captured this correctly, but as you can see, all of these edges are very, very jagged. It does run well, but like I said in the beginning, I really don't think this box is outputting a true 1080p signal. Next game I tested was Rockstars Bully. This is all on high settings. I do notice a little bit of lag when you're moving around quickly, but other than that, it does run good. Still doesn't look as clean as if I was running this on my NVIDIA Shield.
Come on now, don't be scared. You don't even understand what I'm gonna do to you.
The final native Android game that I tested was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Everything's on the highest setting you can go. It actually runs pretty well.
Give me that fucking vehicle.
So I did test Conker's Bad Fur Day using an N64 emulator called MoopN64FZ. We'll get into that gameplay real quick here. It actually seems to handle N64 emulation pretty well. Now within Conker's Bad Fur Day, there are some levels that have a lot of stuff going on and it lags out more than others, so you definitely won't get the best performance out of this box emulating N64 games. It's a bummer because this Rockchip 3399 does have potential. If one of these companies can come out with some good firmware for Android, we're going to get way better performance, but until then, you're going to be stuck with something like this. Overall, I'm really not impressed with the performance. Now, I was going to test some 4K playback, but since we're not really at 1080p right now, 4K playback will be pointless. Over the next few days, I'm going to see if I can find a fix for the resolution on this, or there might be another firmware out there for this box that works better. Like I said, they do market this as a do-it-yourself Android TV box, and video quality and resolution is a must for this, because if we have a choppy image or a pixelated image, it's just not fun to look at it. I did hook this up to my 55-inch 4K TV out in the living room, and it actually looks worse because it's a bigger screen than I'm using here. I'm only using a 39-inch Samsung 1080p TV. It doesn't look great. When I put it on my big screen, it looks even worse because it's stretched out even more. I really appreciate you guys watching. I mean, if you know a fix for that resolution, please let me know. If you have one of these and you have it working better than you saw in this video, please let me know what you did because I'd love to try it too. Really appreciate you guys watching. If you could, hit that like button and subscribe. Like always, thanks for watching.